That record holds now that the camera completely
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Grand Prix Podcast. It's March, it's 2019, and just around the corner is the new season. So what better way to kick this off than to have myself, Elton, and Mr. Andy over at the other side of this Skype call talk about the colours of the cars. Why not?
It's been so long since we did this, I think we've both forgotten how to do it.
Very much so, yes. So if you're new to the Grand Prix Podcast, welcome. Take up a chair. Please stay. Don't disappear. No, at the back. Please don't go now. Stay.
I would like to say that this is probably not representative of a quality and professionalism you can expect, but it kind of is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, this is it. Settle in, folks.
Yeah.
Also,
you're not getting any better than this.
Bear in mind, us both being very immature, there's going to be a lot of swearing. It's going to happen.
That's a good thing to mention because we had problems with that recently, didn't we?
Did
well,
we?
Not recently, but
last year sometimes. Yes.
Yeah.
Sensitive ears were offended.
Yeah. And I'm also terrified because it's blowing a gale outside and I'm worried about the internet dying and all the power dying because I know that's going to happen during this cast.
Well, it makes a change from you being worried about your house being swept up and sent off to Woz. Although if it was sent off to Woz, you could probably catch the first race when it's there in a couple of weeks.
Probably could. That would be handy, wouldn't it?
That would, yeah. Unless the
There
house was to kind of land on top of Vettel or something, that would be awkward.
Okay, right. Where do we begin on this? I've got a little list of things we want to talk about. I want to talk about the cars, maybe a bit about testing as well, and predictions. So where would you like to start on this?
I tell you what we should do. And I'm totally throwing in this during the recording. We haven't discussed this beforehand.
Nice, I like it.
But let's assume someone's listening to this and has never even heard of Grand Prix or Formula One or anything like that at all. Should we do just a very little, what is this and why are we doing it?
Why not? Okay.
Just because, I figure. So we're here to talk about Formula One, which is the Formula One racing car series and all that. This is something we've done now for 3 years together. I think I started doing it with you in 2016.
I think you did, yeah.
So we'll be doing this for a little while. And we get together after every race and discuss the race. And it's usually just two blokes complaining about stuff because it's what we do. That's our demographic right there.
Yeah, we just kind of moan. Sometimes something good happens and so we talk about it. And that's what happens.
Yeah. There is no insight. There's no genius insider knowledge or anything like this. We're both a complete utter pair of idiots that just happen to like Formula One. Yeah. So we're going to complain about it a lot, but we still love it. And I know that sounds weird, and you're probably saying, well, if you hate it so much, why do you still do this? I don't know. We just do. We're so indoctrinated at this point. We're just kind of doing it. So
it makes sense. It's like your biggest fandom, like people like football, and they will berate their team constantly. But really, at the end of the day, they love it, don't they?
Oh, yeah. And it's the same with the teams. I think it's safe to say we're both huge McLaren fans, but we will rip the shit into McLaren because they suck.
Yes, they do. A big one as well.
Yes. So yeah, I just thought it would be a good thing to just kind of put our cards on the table here at the head of a season. So anyone who just kind of stumbles across, because someone could have listened to The Expanse and all of a sudden turns up here thinking this is going to be about, slingshot racing around the solar system. It's not. But
my God, there's a bit of whiplash going on there, isn't there?
There would be, yes. I just thought, let's just clear it out. We might do a couple of specials throughout the season. We'll probably do the Indy 500 when that comes along, because Fernando Alonso, basically. We might do Le Mans because we did it last year and it's kind of fun. But we're not promising we're going to do any of those. But if you're a listener out there, there's something you'd like us to discuss or talk about, feel free to send us an email, and you can get us at
box at grandprixpodcast.com.
Yes. And you can also get us on the Twitters, and we will answer your email and we will discuss the thing you said. And we might even try and catch some Formula E races because they're actually accessible now. So,
have you seen any from this season?
I watched the
Just
first
quickly.
one, I think.
Yeah, so did I.
I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the circuit they were at, which I think was
Right.
just looked like a car park. But it's interesting. It's a bit different. The cars still sound like milk floats. I'm not saying it's a bad thing; they just sound like milk floats. And they got this weird thing where if you go off the racing line and kind of go through a speed boost section, so it's kind of like Mario Kart. You know, you go over the arrows and you go faster. I'm just waiting for them to start introducing the glowing cubes, and you can get the power ups, because that would be kind of amazing.
Someone has a good idea somewhere about Formula E at the moment. And this goes along for Formula One as well. But there are some good ideas coming through, but it's just not quite there yet. Not quite the thing. You can tell that they are a lot slower than other series, and it kind of hurts.
But, well, as with when you say slower, do you mean the cars are slower, or they're just getting to grips with what they're doing slower?
The cars are physically slower.
Okay, there you go.
You can see that they are slower, and it's painful. You might as well go around at 10 mile an hour and 12 mile an hour, and it doesn't have that thrill. And as you say, driving through a car park ain't fun.
No.
And I'm sure we'll be doing that this season as well. At some point.
Oh, yes.
But you're driving through a car park and also a building site. And it's not as pretty in some instances. It's not as familiar. I like the commentary team on Formula E, but I think that's around about it for me. It's just not, I can't get in there at the moment. I've tried, but it's just not working.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes throughout, because I'm sure at some point we'll end up watching it for some reason, because it's not like we've got anything better to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that flows quite nicely into what's happened in the UK, because we've lost our free to air.
Let's not talk about what's going on in the UK.
Oh no,
it's a mess here. Send help, please.
But not by boat, because it won't get in. Honestly, it won't get in.
No, send help, please. Yes, we are struggling a bit.
Yeah, but we've got no free to air races. I think there's one during the season. I think.
Let me guess.
There's going to be
British Grand Prix.
Probably yes.
Yeah,
I'd imagine so. Yeah, but I'm not too sure what channel that's on. And everything has gone over to Sky, which also, I'm quite happy to say, IndyCar has gone over to Sky.
Yay!
So that at least I don't have to surf the internet and find a hooky line into which I can dive into that.
Not that we've ever done that. We're just saying allegedly one might have to do that if it wasn't available on Sky. Allegedly.
Well, yeah, exactly. I've never done that. Well, I don't know what you're insinuating. How dare you, sir? I say good day. But yes, so we haven't got anything free to air. So really, everyone listening to this has got Sky subscription, or possibly Sky subscription, so they know where we're coming from now, because Channel 4 don't have it anymore.
You say that. I know we have some loyal listeners out in the colonies, and we doff our caps to you, sirs and misses. But yes, I've been watching it on Sky now since 2011, I think.
Right. Is that when it first came about on Sky?
I think it's when it first came over to Sky. And because they effectively just brought the entirety of the BBC coverage over.
Right.
I
think it was ITV at that time, wasn't it?
No, it was ITV. It went to BBC,
yeah.
and that's where you started off with Crofty, because you used to have Crofty and Anthony Davidson were doing the 5 Live commentary, because I preferred that over the Martin Brundle and was it Jonathan Noble? Whoever it was, anyway.
Something Allen. I forget his first name.
No, it wasn't James Allen. It was someone else when it came to the BBC. But anyway, it was on BBC, and then Sky got it, and Sky effectively took the BBC outfit, everything except David Coulthard and Eddie Jordan, basically. And kind
I
of
wonder why they didn't want them.
couldn't possibly comment. Basically left them there and left them, scooting on. And then BBC's coverage just kind of diminished until it disappeared over to Channel 4. And I'm guessing now it's gone. So
Yeah.
I've got to say, personally speaking, it doesn't affect me, but I can definitely see why it's a huge shame that that's happened. And what's a real shame as well, because of the terms of the deal with Sky, the attempts by Liberty Media to kind of manage it themselves by setting up their own broadcasting and their own streaming and all that kind of stuff, that's not available in the UK because of the deal with Sky. So we can't see the Liberty Media feeds, which, from what I gather, have some interesting options, kind of interactive ones. But I don't know, because we don't get it.
Well, yeah, we have the app that we could jump on, and that's all locked out, so we can't watch races on there, can we? So we kind of have our hands tied behind our back and a gun to our head and our pockets fleeced.
Yes.
To say the least. But throwing IndyCar onto the same feed or the same channel is kind of a good thing. Well, I like it anyway, because I don't have to traipse around trying to find out where it is. So that's good for me. That means Monaco weekend is going to be bonkers, though.
Well,
because that's going to be why. Monaco and the Indy 500.
Well, I know which one I'll be watching.
Well, you have to watch the Monaco one, mate. I'm sorry, you have to.
Tell you what, when we get to do the Monaco Grand Prix,
you ducking out of that one.
No, I'm saying when we do the Monaco Grand Prix, you're just going to have to decide for yourself if I watched it or not.
Okay, fair enough. I thought you were going to do an Alonso and just do you know what? Let Jensen do this one.
Maybe. No, I better not. Jensen's got a history of peeing in people's seats.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, are you looking forward to this season?
Kind of.
Kind of.
I mean, I always look forward to Formula One when it gets here. I always love watching the Australian race at stupid o'clock in the morning and cursing my mother for giving birth to me, forcing me to be up at this time to go and watch the Australian race. I'm not a fan of mornings, in case you hadn't guessed. But as of right now, it's just a little bit... It feels like we're on the cusp of a change in Formula One, of it kind of sorting itself out a little bit, but it's not here yet. So it really feels more like this is just 2018.5.
Okay.
Just a little bit. I don't know. It's just I was maybe expecting something more from the redesign with the front wings and everything and looks of the cars, but fundamentally the cars pretty much all look the same. And, nothing's really changed in the pecking order. Some nuances here and there, but, it's pretty much all the same there. I'm kind of... Do you recall at the beginning of last year, they released some pictures of what they thought the cars were going to look like once they have sorted out how the halos are going to incorporate properly and everything. And they looked a lot sleeker and cooler, and we're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then they released those images of what they think the car's going to look like in 2021, and you got those little wing deflectors over the rear wheels, and again the sleeker incorporated halos. We don't have that. It's just okay. It's and I've got to say, most of the liveries, maybe tipping my hat a bit early here, but none of them have really kind of maybe got, whoa, I like the look of that. Most of them are just evolutions of what we had from last year.
Yeah, I think some of them have gone forward, look a lot nicer, and some of them look dreadful. And I'm sure we'll get onto the ones that look good and look dreadful. And we've also been teased with testing liveries, which is really bloody annoying because they didn't even turn up at testing.
Yeah.
They were just like an unveiling livery.
For the Red Bull, primarily.
Yeah, okay, yeah, for the Red Bull. they came out with this. I thought it looked really, really nice. It looked like an old Toro Rosso, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's got that deep red and blue on there. And it was the unveiling colour. And you're like, okay, so you're going to go testing in that at least. Oh, no. No. We're going to have our normal standard colours.
Basically. I mean, but they've done that a few times now. In terms of bringing out the fake, or the testing liveries. I mean, I kind of liked it when it was in that kind of dazzle camo one where you couldn't really see the car. I mean, I didn't.
The black and white one.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like it because it gave me a headache, but I like the concept. It's like trying to hide the car from photographers and some of the secrets. That makes sense. But if you're going to do a fancy livery and then you don't even race with that livery, you just do it for the filming day. I mean, it's kind of limited appeal for the filming day because you can't use any of that footage once the season started because the cars look differently.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So should we get into the cars and what we think of the cars and how they've done through testing and stuff like that? I
guess we should. Although I should warn people, there's a little competition going on throughout the course of the episode. Do you remember those Where's Wally things? We're going to play Where's Ted? At some point in this cast, Ted's going to show up.
Oh, is he?
You've got to be able to point it out. So there you go. You can play along at home. Just keep your eyes out for Where's Ted.
Has he turned up yet?
Yeah, he has turned up. Well, I don't know.
He has.
No, I don't know if he has turned up. His name's turned up, but I don't think Ted showed up.
Right. Okay.
Should we bring people into what's happened there with Ted?
Yeah, please. Yeah, because it sounds like you know a little bit more than me because all I know was he went underground for some time, didn't he?
Well, as regular listeners will know, I've got something of a love-hate relationship with Ted. I do really genuinely enjoy his performance, his commentaries and everything like that. And I used to love The Notebook. I do still quite like The Notebook. I always make sure I watch it. And his insights during testing have always been good. His developmental corner where he kind of will show you what's going on with cars and any new bits. And then, we get to the beginning of this year and they start doing the unveils of the cars. And he tweeted about the unveil of the Haas car. But after that, he went completely dark on Twitter. We didn't hear or see anything. And I remember messaging you just saying, had you seen anything from Ted? And you were like, no. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on there. And then they announced the lineup for Formula One this year on Sky, including pretty much every Formula One racer who's ever raced and is retired is now part of the Sky F1 team. But Ted's name was left off of it. And so all of a sudden there was a massive Twitter campaign for like, where's Ted and bring back Ted. And people were kicking off. Like seriously, like really annoyed, like going, oh, well, I'm not going to bother with Sky and all this sort of stuff. Basically forcing Sky to reissue the list with Ted Kravitz's name on there. So we kind of don't really know what happened. Was he booted? Was he always part of it? Or, what's going on where? We don't know. But basically, Ted is back next year, although he didn't do anything in testing, which is a little bit disappointing. And he hasn't actually tweeted anything other than to retweet a post which has his name down as being part of the lineup for this year.
Yeah, you have to ask the question whether Sky turned around and kicked him off because they've got Chandrick now, haven't they?
Yes.
And he used to do the Ted role on Channel 4 and he's moved over to Sky now. And it is worrying whether he's got that amount of power or not, because I think last year I was kind of down on Ted and Crofty.
It got a bit dad jokey, didn't it?
It very much so, to the point where it was cringy. And dad jokes are supposed to be cringy, but they're all supposed to be cringy, but that's kind of funny. But this was really, I wanted to eat my fingers type cringy. It was too much for me. And I nearly bailed. And I think a couple of times I spoke to you off air and just like, I can't do this.
I think you did. I think you did it on air a couple of times.
Did I?
Yeah.
I can't remember, but I nearly lost it. So I have missed Ted's insight into what's changed, because he used to go around the paddock and take little photos on his phone and camera and show you on his iPad and stuff like that. And you could see little details, which was interesting, but we haven't had that depth of discussion on any channel yet. And the second testing week almost might as well not have happened, because we haven't really had that much insight. We haven't had any real in-depth discussions about it. I haven't had any shows about it. It didn't feel like it to me anyway. So I feel that Sky and maybe Liberty have missed something there. We want this, and yet they're not doing it.
And basically, anyone who is now subscribed to Sky wants to be subscribed enough to pay for it, which means they're invested enough that you may as well go in depth. Yeah. You can't use the excuse of, it's just
you have a channel.
Yeah.
You have a channel dedicated to this stuff. You can put on reams and reams of football constantly. And when it comes to one sport like this, where you think, well, people are paying for this channel, but do they really want to see reviews of last year and the year before and 1998 and 1991? Yes, we do. We want to see all of these things. And when the season's coming to a build-up, you want to pull people in. And by not showing this testing stuff, they're not pulling more people in. God, I'm moaning already. I shouldn't be doing that, but I am.
To be fair, we did warn people at the front, so...
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's my little grumble.
Okay. Shall we finally get onto the cars now?
Yeah, let's go for it. Where do you want to start? Is it Williams, I'm guessing?
I think let's go through the reverse order from the end of last season. So where they finished in the championship. So yeah, we'll start with Williams.
Williams. Okay.
Yeah.
God, it's ugly.
You need that sad trombone sound here, don't you?
They missed the first 2.5 days of testing as well, didn't they?
No. We're not getting. We're still on it. It's ugly.
Okay.
Because it's ugly. It's gone from one of the best looking cars, or rather the best looking liveries on the circuit, to arguably the worst.
It's got a gradient on it.
It's so we've got a new title sponsor. Is it Rookit or Rocket or I don't know.
It could be Rocket. I think it's supposed to be Rocket.
I think it's supposed to be Rocket. I don't even know what Rocket do.
Well, I can hear you googling.
I am googling to just see if I can find out.
They've gone from the martini to this, haven't they?
Yeah.
And this is like a baby blue fading or gradient into white and then back to the baby blue. And it ain't pretty at all. I don't think it's pretty at all. I think it's one of the worst looking cars out there.
It's one of the worst looking cars with one of the worst liveries that I think we've seen in many a year. Yeah, it looks cheap, doesn't it?
Yes, that's what it is.
It looks very, very cheap. I still can't figure out who Rocket are as well.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go.
And
based in the United States, they're planning to launch a 3D-capable Android phone in the near future. So they don't actually do anything yet.
They just sit on their hands waiting for something to happen. Not great. Okay, so yeah, it looks... Well, congratulations, Williams. You have now made a car that looks like it should be running at the back of the grid.
Well, it's true. They now look like they look like they now belong where they are.
Yeah. They're not dethroned winners and looking to get back to the winning circle. This is more of a, we're kind of last and we want a striking look. By the way, we'll just get Billy from school and he's on like a day release so he can throw up the livery for us. And it looks terrible. It doesn't shout out, buy all these stuff that we're trying to sell you on this car. It's saying to me, stay away from this car. Do not buy anything associated with this.
It's sad. It's really sad. It's Williams is a mark and a name which deserves so much more. Mm. And I hate to be morbid, but Frank Williams doesn't have all that many days ahead of him. And I really don't want him to go out with his team languishing at the back of the grid like that. He doesn't deserve that.
Do you know what I have noticed, though?
What's that?
It hasn't got the Mercedes badge on it at all.
Has it not?
No, I know they've got the power unit, but there's no Mercedes badge on there whatsoever. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but surely they would have that, wouldn't they?
It depends, because it depends on the terms of the deal, but it's either they pay so they don't have to, or they're paid to display it. I don't know which way around it goes.
Right,
Someone's not paying someone, basically. I just don't know which way around it goes.
Okay.
Because even Red Bull, who didn't display Renault, they went with the Tag Heuer on their engines. This year have Honda on theirs.
They must have paid a pretty penny to Renault to tag it as Tag Heuer.
Yeah, I think they did. So I don't know the terms of the contracts or anything like that, but basically, yeah, I don't know. You're right. I don't know. I would guess that my guess would be Mercedes didn't want to pay, or other the terms are they gave them the engine without the requirement for the branding on there, and then didn't want to pay the extra, or maybe Mercedes just paid them not to stick it on. Mercedes don't want their engine at the back of a grid.
That could be a thing. We don't want Mercedes at the front and the back. We don't want it bookending.
I can't see that. I'm sure Toto Wolff's still got a soft spot for Williams. I mean, he had shares in it for so long, and his wife was their development driver.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Okay, so they did miss out on 2.5 days of testing, though, didn't they? Their car was late.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to have been quite reliable-ish. This is a problem with not having as much information coming from the only source. I just haven't got the information from all the testing. That's the problem I'm facing.
Well, I think what we can say is the Mercedes engine at this stage is still going to be reliable.
Yeah.
So, we weren't going to expect any issues on the powertrain end with them. And most of these cars now run a standard electronics package as well. So I wouldn't expect any issues there. The problem with the Williams is it's just slow more than anything.
Be the aero.
Pardon?
Be the aero.
Yeah, the aero. The aero is just not there. It's slow. It's unstable. Because they were delayed getting to the grid, they were delayed with their program getting up to speed. And then I think on the last day they had some technical gremlins then, which meant that Kubica missed out on some running as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they are, I mean, they might be slightly better off than they were last year, but they're still at the back of the grid by quite a ways.
Yeah, yeah. And so we have Robert Kubica joining the F1 ranks again.
Yeah.
As a driver this time out.
Yeah, he's gone from the development driver last year to full driver this time. So Sorokin left. And the interesting thing there is it seems like Williams wanted him, but his sponsors were like, no, we're not paying for this level of performance, and pulled the plug.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, it feels almost like a booby prize or something for poor old Robert. I mean, yes, he's back in Formula One, but he's in, a slow car. And I have to wonder if we're going to get kind of like what happened with Michael when he was with Mercedes, where things aren't going well. And there's a multitude of reasons for that. but it ends up just taking a bit of a shine off of your reputation there.
Yeah, like the grand return.
Yeah.
And it should be like the fairy tale, but really the fairy tale should have happened 2 or 3 years ago. And it's a fairy tale in waiting that's kind of, everyone's got used to, okay, well, the fairy tale might happen. Okay, right, it's happening now, is it? Okay, fine. And it's a bit of a whimper, isn't it, that he's back? I think we're all glad that he's back, but it's not the big bang or wow, he's back type thing. This has been going on for some time.
Yeah, and he certainly looked like he was starting to lose his rag towards the end of testing as well. His patience was starting to run a bit thin, it seemed.
Yeah. And we also have George Russell.
I'm just going to sit back here and let you run with this. Off you go, mate.
This feels like Jolyon Palmer has just put a George Russell suit on. He's jumped in there. I am not a fan of Jolyon Palmer. Number one, his dad nearly run me over.
I'm shocked. Oh, really? I am.
I don't remember anyone having like a Jolyon Palmer t-shirt or hat when I was at the Formula One 2 years ago. So he's George Russell. Good luck to him, but not that I'm worried. He's just got that smarm about him. There's something about him that I'm not going to like, and I already know that. Have you seen where his side parting is? It's halfway down his head, and it feels like that's like the hinge of his head where Jolyon Palmer's brain has just been implanted into his head. There's just something off. He's not as rock and roll as I want him to be. He's George. He's George.
Oh dear. And you know what's going to happen, don't you?
What?
Well, all the commentators on Sky are going to fawn all over him every time he does every time, he goes to the toilet on his own. They're going to be like going, oh, what a great job he's done. How amazing. Again, we're complaining. We warned you this was going to happen. But the commentators in the UK have this nasty habit of just every time a British driver does anything, basically orgasming. Like, it gets silly.
Yeah. And when he breaks down, it's going to be, oh, he just can't catch a break. He does everything right. We just haven't seen his speed. And like, well, he's in a shit car and he's called George. He's called George. Do you remember is it Gary Paffett when he was a test driver for McLaren?
Yeah.
And they used to put the names on the sides of the cars.
Yeah.
And you had Kimi written on the side, and you had Mika written on the side. Granted, you had David written on the side. But then you had the McLaren with Gary written on the side. It's just Gary on a grey car. Oh, okay. And now we've got George. And it's a strong name, but it's George, isn't it? So I'm already down on this guy. I do apologise. I'm going to try and keep up for the first 4 races. I'm going to give him 4 races. I used to give until mid-season. I can't be asked anymore. It's going to be too much. So first 4 races, let's say, okay, right. Australia, Bahrain, Chinese, Azerbaijan. Okay. He's got some good races there to pull one out the bag. All I need is one good performance out of that lot, and I'll be happy. By the Spanish Grand Prix, though, if he hasn't done diddly squat, then I'm going to rip into him.
No,
does that sound fair?
I'd say let's do it after the Spanish Grand Prix, because that's back here at Barcelona.
Yep.
A circuit which we now know he has raced a Formula One car on, and we can also measure his performance against what he's done here. So there you go. You've got until the end of the Spanish Grand Prix.
Sounds good.
There you go. That's how long his amnesty lasts.
Yeah. That's for all of the drivers, I think. That's for all of them.
No, I don't think it has to be for all of them, because most of the drivers have been racing, all of last year. And as I've said, most of the cars just seem an evolution. there's a particular driver we'll get to in a little bit, which I definitely have thoughts on, and I ain't giving him no till Barcelona before I decide if I'm going to rip into him or not. But we'll get to that. But
okay, I'll give the rookies up until
I think that's fair. And I'd include Kubica in with the rookies, because I feel he is a different driver to who he was before. However we do this, and I really, really want Kubica to do well. I do. I feel he was horribly short-shrifted, firstly by BMW, and then by this accident. And he really does deserve it. He's such a nice guy as well, and he just deserves a chance. I hope he can do. And I mean, the guy is registered disabled. I don't think people realize this. Now, he literally has almost no strength in his left arm at all. Yeah. So he could get a blue badge. So just in terms of...
I think they should make him pull out the blue badge at pit stops. No, just me.
What, when he comes into... No, I saw you broke up there. I didn't hear it. The sensors got to you before it got to me.
Time to break up.
It's true. But no, I because of that, I think it would be a huge boon if he is able to do well, and just to show that, having gone through everything he went through, having effectively had his arm severed, to come back and be competitive in Formula One would be a great story. So I would really like to see him do well. And if he manages to do it in a Williams that's this bad, it would just show even more how well and how good a driver he is.
And what we lost as well.
Absolutely. What could have been.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what. Predictions for Williams for 2019. Where do you think they're going to end up?
I think they're going to be rock bottom. I don't want them to be, because they are... I love Williams. I really do. I know it doesn't sound like it for the last 10 minutes or so, but I have a soft spot for Williams. And when they look good and they go well, I'm a very happy chappy. I want them. I'd love them to be mid-pack. I'd be very happy with mid-pack. I'm sure they'd be very happy with mid-pack, especially with the setback they had at the very start of the testing session. So... if they have another team below them, I think they'll be very happy.
I think the engine and the powertrain, the electronics and all that are solid. They're sound. There's no issues there. It's all going to be down to aero. If Paddy Lowe can get his team dialed into this car, if they can understand the car and develop it, I think they have the potential to get off the back. But I don't think they're going to do much better than middle of the midfield. But I think they'd be okay with that because it would show progress. So I think, I think they have the potential to not be 10th at the end of it. So I'll say 9th. Just trying to be positive there.
Okay, that's cool.
It's hard because both their drivers really are kind of unknowns.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see. But I think they have, if you recall last year, the big problem they had was there was no correlation between their simulator and the car. So when they did a change on the simulator and they went and added it to the car, it didn't do what it was supposed to do. So if they've managed to solve that issue, I think they'll have a chance. Yeah. But if not, they're fucked.
A very well-known red team had that problem last year as well, didn't they?
They did. It happens. So we'll have to see. But I certainly hope they won't finish at the back. But I think 9th would be the highest I can see them getting.
Okay. So who do we move on to after this?
Okay. So again, going off of the 2018 season, the team which finished ahead of them was Toro Rosso.
Right.
Toro Rosso Honda. So, what do we think of the car?
It's kind of evolution from last year, isn't it?
Pretty much.
It's not even evolution, really. It's the same.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. It's the blue and silver of the Red Bull Cola colours.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, car looks nice enough. Sure.
I think it looks pretty.
Yeah. It does.
It's not my favourite, but it looks pretty.
It's the off-brand Red Bull.
Yeah.
You know when you're playing a fighting game, and someone picks a character and someone else wants to pick the character as well, and you'll have a different color. It's like that.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It is a bit.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it is. Okay, so yeah, they've got the Honda engine as well, haven't they? And
they do, and they've had it for a year now, so they've been working with Honda, developing it, and understanding how things work.
Yeah. We also have 2, in inverted commas, new drivers in the seats as well. We have Alexander Albon and Daniel Kvyat.
Yes.
Both who have been dropped by Red Bull in the past and picked up again. So this is Daniel Kvyat's 3rd time on the payroll for Red Bull Racing / Toro Rosso.
It's strange how we come to be here that we've got Kubica back again. I don't think anyone would have guessed at the beginning of last season that Danny Kvyat would be back in Formula One. Never mind Toro Rosso.
It's a bit of a shock, I must admit. I wasn't expecting his name to turn up, especially when I know they had Hartley there, but I don't think he was making great guns. And they had Gasly, but he was moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a surprise, and it's also, you have to wonder I'm not very up with the Red Bull Racing program as well. So for other people in line for that, they must feel a bit short-shrived because he's come in. They must feel a bit nose out of joint. Hang on, wasn't it my turn? Oh no, let's let Danny have a 3rd bite of the cherry. And let's all be honest, if he doesn't make it this time, he's out of there and nobody can complain, least of all him.
You say that. I mean, after his terrible 2016 and he got to race in 2017, we were all like, well, he's got another season to prove himself. If he doesn't do it this time and he's out, then he can't complain.
Yeah.
And then it just went to shit and done it. Look, I hope he does.
You're right, yeah.
I hope he does well. He was doing great guns up until the whole run-ins with Vettel and everything.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. I don't know what to say. It's
it's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, just talking about the team in general, throughout testing, I mean, they were pretty consistent. They didn't really do anything to stand out, which is probably a good thing. I mean, I think it's worth mentioning that we're both Red Bull and Toro Rosso racing with the Honda. They both pretty much were able to complete a full program. There was no extended period sitting in the garage complaining about the engines being fucked, which was pretty much Honda's MO throughout most of the previous 5 years.
Yeah.
So it seems, at least on the surface, the reliability issues seem to have been sorted.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they got when it's working well, they got a solid package. The problem is bits keep going wrong. They had a lot of, I don't think they had the drama that McLaren had when they had the Hondas, where they had physical explosions of engines right in front of the TV cameras. They kept it all behind the TV cameras and changed parts, but had lots of grid penalties, didn't they?
Yeah.
And kept it in-house that way. I think they kept it aligned like that, so at least you wouldn't see their product in flames on the TV, and get it into the garage before it goes up in flames as well. So there was a lot of that, but it was a case of this was put the Honda in the Toro Rosso so then Red Bull can see if they want it. It was a testing ground. And nobody would touch Honda apart from Toro Rosso. And so somehow they've got a deal with Red Bull as well out of this. So there must be something there.
I honestly don't know. I mean, if you asked me at the beginning of last season, and I'm sure we probably did, no one in their right mind would have gone with the Honda. But they had a pretty clean season for the most part. I mean, there was still a lot of reliability issues with the Honda. I don't know how many engines and how many penalties they took in total, but my guess is a lot. But I don't think Red Bull and Renault was going to last another season. That they were, I won't say each other's throats, but they were definitely estranged.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Alexander Albion as well.
Yes.
Albon, sorry, not Albion.
Yeah,
that's a totally different thing. Nationalities Thai.
Yes, I believe a first Thai Formula One driver.
Yeah. In Formula 2 last year, he had 4 wins, 3 poles, and came third in the whole thing. Which George Russell won, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Norris was second, I think. Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
Russell
pretty sure
won, Norris was second.
Yeah. So, well, I'm hoping he'll do well. I don't really know much about him. I try and watch Formula 2, but I can't spend all the weekends watching all of the races. That's the thing. So
yeah, I mean, we're not paid enough to do that. So if you want to go and pop over to our Patreon and give us some money, then we will do.
Yeah, that would be grand. Yes, please do that. Patreon.com/RogueTwoMedia. There we go.
I don't know about the Toro Rosso. I think because there was nothing went horribly wrong, but nothing went spectacularly well. So and with no Ted to kind of guide us through what we need to be looking at, it just kind of slipped under the radar. They just, it was fine.
Yeah.
No nasty surprises. I think there's the potential there for them to do some surprises. I think at the end of the day, the cars, the biggest surprise for me, or rather, I think the biggest hope for the team would be they have the reliability. And if they can get through the season close or at the engine limit, I mean, is it 3 or 4 this year? Do you know?
It was 3 last year. I can't remember if they'd gone to 4 this year or not, but I know it was 3 last year.
Okay.
I thought that was maybe 1 too little.
I know the whole. I know they're doing some changes with the penalty system, but I don't know what that's going to be yet. I know that the hope is that it doesn't impact the drivers so much, but I guess we'll have to see. But my hope with them is it's with both them and Red Bull that they're not suffering multiple 75 place grid penalties after replacing all the components, and therefore are able to race and develop the car and actually get into the midfield. They finished second from bottom last time, so I think their hope would just be to improve upon that.
Where do you think?
I don't know. I'm having a look at where they did last year.
By the way, I'm actually writing this down and hopefully save it in a safe place until the end of the season.
Oh, okay, fine. I think they might maybe advance to. So I mean, they finished 9th last time, so I'm going to guess maybe 8th.
Okay, that's what I was going to go for as well. Cool. The only good thing, a good thing about Toro Rosso is that they do share components.
Yeah, I mean they're effectively a B team.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they have a whole rear end exactly the same as the Red Bull, and so I think like the nose is different, slightly different. I think they've followed more of a Ferrari design than a Red Bull design. There's different types of design with the winglets sloping inwards or outwards or being flat. And I think the Red Bull is more of a flat design, whereas this is following the Ferrari concept. And if they if they follow the right concept in that design, their car might be ahead of the bigger team, the Red Bull team.
Right up to a point, the bigger team decides to just steal the concept
and change paints.
Yeah.
Well, this is clearly not working on our car. Let's just change it. Oh, look, we look like the other car. Okay, never mind.
No, this is clearly our ring. It says Red Bull on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think they got that going for them anyway. So who would be next up then?
Well, next up will be Alfa Romeo, since Sauber finished 8th last year.
That's right. Yes.
And so
rebranded
now as Alfa Romeo. This isn't anything new. I mean, this used to be the BMW Formula One team. So who knows?
Yeah, it did. Yes.
Until Sauber's name returns.
Oh, it's not even on the entry card, though, is it?
No.
I think with BMW, it had BMW Sauber, and this is just purely Alfa Romeo Racing.
I think so.
I think because Ferrari I think they had high hopes on Haas, and Haas were edging to try and be their B team, and
I think they were a little too independent, though.
Little too independent, and I don't think they're keen on their drivers. And I think they saw Sauber as a more viable option of, okay, they're further down the grid. Maybe we can use that. It's not going to make as much of an impact as it would do with Haas, because people were starting, when Haas were going well, people started moaning about, oh, well, they're just sharing parts with Ferrari. But when they started going badly, it was ignored. So if they're further down the grid, then it gets ignored. And I think Ferrari were hoping that. I think they might be a bit further up the grid this time, though.
I think there's going to be a lot more collaboration between them both. And they've got a secret Finnish weapon.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have. They got your boy.
Yeah. We all thought he was gone, but we pulled him back in.
I keep trying to get out. They keep pulling me back in. Although in a Kimi voice, if you imagine that.
I keep trying to get out, but they pull me back in.
There you go. Exactly like that.
Oh, I forgot the haiku book. The haiku book's out in the other room at the moment.
We'll save that for the race proper.
Okay.
Or maybe you can get one for the end. But yeah. we got Elton the Kimi Räikkönen book of haikus. Just so throughout the season, he can impart Kimi's words of wisdom to you, the listeners.
We would do it in the races. There we go.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, in terms of during testing, they seem to do their program. Kimi seems very hands-on. Did you see the video of him actually like fitting his chair or doing some repair on it?
He was doing a bit of heat gunning on a chair, on his seat, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And grinding certain bits down. And yeah, good luck to him, man.
I think he'll probably be happier at Alfa Romeo than he was at Ferrari. Because the one thing Kimi hates is any kind of PR work or politics, anything like that. In fact, he even said to Gasly, apparently, he goes, you'll be fine in Ferrari as long as you ignore the politics and bullshit. You know, that's kind of ways. And I don't think he's going to have any of that at Alfa Romeo. They're just going to let him race and, you know, stock him up with ice creams. So I think Kimi's going to be really happy. I think Alfa Romeo have the potential to maybe really move up the midfield. I don't think they're going to like challenge the top three at all. But I could see them potentially giving, say, Renault or Haas a rough time of it around the top of the midfield.
I think they're going to be a little bit further up.
Yeah.
First off, The livery is not much changed from last year.
No, it's
although it has got a dirty big Alfa Romeo badge at the back, which looks cool. I thought last year's car looked cool, and Leclerc, whatever you want to call him, looked good in that car. And I saw a couple of onboards with Kimi in the first test. That car looked stuck to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That car looked really good in the corners. And I have high hopes for this. It came out with a weird front wing as well. It was almost missing parts on the front wing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's got that really weird scoop at the very end of the nose.
Yeah. I think it's a cool looking car. I think they got two great drivers there. They've got experience there as well. And I think we might have a surprise with Alfa Romeo.
Yeah. He's partnered with Antonio Giovinazzi. Mm-hmm. So any thoughts on him?
Not at the moment, no. Not at the moment. I'm sure he'll do bloody well.
He's been the simulator driver for Ferrari for ages, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I just reckon they're going to do well. I think without the Ferrari spotlight on Kimi, he will relax a little. Not relax a little. The guy's
if a guy relaxed
vertical.
at all, I was going to say, if he relaxed anymore, he'd be in a box.
Yeah. He'd have no skeleton and just a pool full of jelly. Oh man. I think, but there does come some pressure with that Ferrari spotlight, doesn't there? And
there's expectation with the Scuderia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expectation. And I know he said it didn't change his life winning the US Grand Prix last year. But I think there was thank God. Thank God that's happened. At least I could prove that I came back to Ferrari and won another race. And that's not there anymore. That's gone. He's come back. He's won a race again. And now he can move on.
I also feel with it being Alfa Romeo, knee Sauber, he will get the credit for good work, not the car. Mm-hmm. Whereas when it's with Ferrari, I'm sure they say, oh, well, the car was working well, so, or Sebastian wasn't able to do it, so that's why. You know, it's never just because Kimi was on fire. It was always because of another reason.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Also, they've got a red halo on this one as well.
Yeah. They kind of follow the colour from the engine cover up over the halo there. It looks cool. Yeah. I like it.
I think it looks really cool. It's one of my favourites out there. Definitely my favourite one so far.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay.
Where do you? Yeah, I was going to say where do we like them? So last time out they finished
8th.
Yes, it was 8th because they were ahead of the 9th and 10th teams.
I'm going to say 6th.
You reckon 6th?
Yeah.
In that case, I'll be cheeky and I'll say 5th.
You're going to say 5th? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 6th. Oh, now I'm drawing 2 columns. Okay. Right. Okay. Oh, God, I'm going to have to write this in pen soon. I'll laminate this later.
Okay.
There we go. You can't get rid of lamination. Is that a word? I don't think it is. Laminated pieces. There we go. Anyway, so I reckon 6th, you reckon 5th.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's next to talk about?
Racing Point.
Who?
Racing Point.
Okay.
That temporary name, which wasn't going to be used beyond the end of last season, is now their entry for this year. The team formerly known as Force India.
Right. Okay. What do you think of the livery, first off?
Well, it's not hugely different from last year. They're still the Pink Panthers, but there's a lot more blue in it. They got this big blue Sport Pezza engine cover.
Yeah.
And JCB up on the back of them.
Yeah, JCB used to be on the Williams, didn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, Williams are shedding sponsors faster than technical engineers at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think I preferred it looked last year when it was more pink, weirdly enough, but it's fine. It still stands out. And I like the fact that we can still call them the Pink Panthers.
I really like the pink. I don't like the blue.
Yeah.
I think that looks horrible. There's also big splashes of red in there and grey.
Yeah, they got like a silvery grey with alpine stars on the, well, not the barge boards, but those bits which stick out past the side pods.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not overly impressed with it.
No. It's got a very, I mean, we're seeing lots of these wing concepts because, you know, the main thing is it's simplifying them. And it's got these very big, wide planes at the front and then, you know, 3 elements behind that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, so
we'll see.
Who do we have driving for Racing Point then?
Well, you have with Racing Point, Sergio Perez.
Solid driver.
Solid driver. Did very well last year. You know, a real good companion to Esteban Ocon. And you've also got the boss's son.
Ah, there you go. Right. And that is Lance Stroll, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so he moved from Williams and Dad bought a team for him. That's what everyone's saying. Come on, we got to say that, haven't we?
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know. I still think it would have been a baller move if his dad hadn't actually let him race for the team.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. No, you can't get in this car. But Dad, no. But Dad, no. But no. But Dad, no. Just that. Yeah. All the way home from Abu Dhabi.
When you can ride in my team when you can show you can drive a Williams. But Dad!
Oh, man. But he did get a podium 2 years ago.
Yeah, in a race in which was not exactly typical.
No, that's true. That's true.
So, yeah, okay. So you got Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll. Sergio Perez is a solid driver, and I think has consistently over the last 3 years, him and Esteban Ocon have always gotten the maximum they can out of a car, just given by how close they've always been. Neither driver really was miles ahead of the other. If that car could give you a fifth, one of them would finish fifth and the other one would be sixth.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've always thought he's an excellent peg of where the car is, and it's going to be very telling on Lance Stroll where he is in relation to Perez. Because let's face it, how much time did Perez and Ocon spend tripping over each other? It was because they were so evenly matched. Now, if Stroll is miles ahead of Perez, then we've got a lot of crow to eat and humble pie, because it shows that he really is good and the Williams which is that bad last time out. Alternatively, if he's nowhere near Perez, then you and I get to sit there, point and laugh and say, haha, we told you so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then what happens to it? Does Daddy go, okay, you're sacked? How do you do that? That's the problem with like family teams, especially when your son's driving.
Well, it entirely depends on why he's in the sport. If he's in the sport to succeed and to win, then he has to get rid of his son. Whereas if he's in the sport to give his son a Formula One thing, he just packs up and goes.
Yeah,
basically.
That's right.
So I guess it will be very telling there. Just to give you a sense of where my biases are, I think Force India have the potential to finish behind Williams this year. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying they have the potential to. They really dropped off at the end of last season. I mean, there was a lot up in the air with the finances and everything like that being a mess. And although they did come back kind of strong, it was largely down to both of their drivers delivering points consistently. And I have yet to be convinced that Stroll will do that, deliver points consistently. I think Perez, I feel, is going to be our benchmark as to where the car is. So wherever Perez is finishing, that's telling you roughly where the car should be.
I totally agree. And I feel that Ocon pushed Perez.
Mm-hmm.
He wound him up a bit, and they wound each other up, but they fed off each other as well.
Yeah.
And that's why they got good results.
Mm-hmm.
They were, as you said, they were so closely matched that they had to push that extra little bit to try and one up each other. And I don't think that, once again, I think I'm going to have to give him 4 races. Like Lance Stroll, he's going to have 4 races. We know that he can drive a car. That's fine. That's a given. He's there. But he's now in potentially a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
It's midfield and knocking on the door type thing. If something goes wrong up the sharp end of the grid, then a podium could possibly be on the cards. And I think Perez was the only other person not in a Red Bull, a Ferrari, or a Mercedes, I think you pointed out last year, to make the podium.
Yeah.
So you have that there as well. On the flip side of that, it could go proper wonky and they could end up last. So it just depends. I think it depends on how they start the season.
Yeah. Well, how they start the season, but also how well they develop the car.
Yeah.
You know, if they're able to develop the car and to keep up, I think that will kind of dictate where they go. But for me, just looking at how they were pretty consistent throughout last year. They were scoring points, but they did seem to just kind of fall off for the last 4 races. And I don't know. I mean, the podium he had was in Azerbaijan. Again, a slightly exceptional race.
Well, we lost both Red Bulls in that race, didn't we?
Yeah. But I feel that they were sliding backwards just because of all the stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know Lawrence Stroll's bringing a lot of coin, but the question is, does he know how to spend it well? So that will be telling. We will see. But yeah, my slightly mischievous side here is saying that I think they might end up sliding back to 10th.
10th.
I think
okay.
they basically, I feel that if it's down to just Perez scoring points, they're fighting with one hand behind their back then. And then I think if they're not able to develop the car properly, then there's a chance they could end up at the very back. So
shall I put down 10 for you?
Yeah, put down 10 for me.
Okay, I'm going to put 7 for me. I agree that they could go last, and it is a toss-up for me between this team and another team that will end up last. Only because I want Williams not to end up last. But my head says Williams will end up last, but my heart is saying no, 9th. So I'm going to put these down for 7th.
Fair enough.
I think Alpha will end up above them.
I will say that supposedly they're planning to bring a big package to the Australian race. But we all know that Australia is not indicative of the rest of the season. So what works well in Australia doesn't necessarily work well everywhere else.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to wait and see.
Okay. Right. So who's up next?
Well, next after Force India. Oh, it's our favourite team of all. It's McLaren.
McLaren? Oh, okay.
Yes. I was going to say, they're not yellow peril, the orange peril, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
And we've lost our patron saint.
He's gone, man.
He's kind of gone. He's gone, but not gone, hasn't he?
Well, he's gone to pastures new and won races in pastures new, and then came back to the testing just to show his face because he's part of McLaren setup still. Yeah,
he's still part of McLaren, just not their Formula One team. Yeah, he's going to be racing for McLaren at the Indy 500. He's not doing IndyCar though, is he? Just Indy 500.
Yeah, I think he's still doing the WEC though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still going to be finishing that. He's currently in the lead as well, and I think only a couple more races left. So
yeah, has Jenson Button pulled out of that now?
I don't know.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so we've got McLaren. Got to tell you, I do like the livery. It's a nice evolution of last year's.
I think this is rocking. This is good.
Yeah, I like this one. They've basically brought more of that blue into the engine cover, and I like the geometric shapes, the triangles they've got going down there.
Yep,
I like the black halo, looks good.
Yep.
I like how they've got the sponsors just along the base of the engine cover. Kind of reminds me of on my my motorbikes racing replica, and that's kind of how they're done along the bottom there. That's cool. I like the way the numbers are in that same sort of geometric shape. You've got 55 for Carlos Sainz and 4 for Lando Norris.
Yep.
The only things I don't like about it are the red on the back of the rear wing for Husky chocolate.
Oh, the chocolate, yeah.
And the fact that their overalls are predominantly blue.
I like their overalls.
I preferred the white ones that Alonso had last year. I quite like the white, but that's just personal choice. But other than that, I think this is the best looking car on the grid, just livery wise.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll start running as well as it looks.
It looks fast now, doesn't it? I think last year going for the orange or whatever, the papaya.
Yeah.
And having the little blue. By the way, we came up with the colours for our album art way before this was shown.
Yeah, damn straight.
Don't think that we're copying them. They is like, well, copying us and stuff. So, yeah, we came up with them colours first. But I thought it was a good direction and I liked it. This is what I wanted. This is good. This looks wicked. I love as you said, the geometric shapes, the breakup that you have. That looks so cool. And even where they positioned the numbers on the tail as well.
Yeah.
On the back of the engine cover. It's on that little fin. I think that looks quite cool.
Yeah.
I like the overalls as well. And I really like the drivers.
Okay, yeah. So we've got Carlos Sainz, who's come over from Renault. And he's always been pretty solid, hasn't he? I mean, I don't think he was quite able to match with Hülkenberg last time out. But generally a solid driver. He's been going in Formula One for a good few years now, mostly with Toro Rosso. But yeah, I think he's certainly capable of leading the team and helping them get off the back of the grid. And
I think he's a good, solid driver.
Yeah, no, very much so. And Lando Norris, the other young Brit coming over from Formula 2. What's your thoughts on Lando then?
Lando,
I'm disappointed about the lack of capes, for one thing.
He needs a big blue cape, doesn't he?
You can't be called Lando and not have a cape. It's like a rule.
He must have had that all the time.
Probably.
Growing up. I had someone call me Elton John today. That was nice.
You are renowned as a tiny dancer.
Yeah. But, okay, I'm 40 years old and apparently that joke doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. And it's even more common with people who I've just met. They go, oh, like John? Okay, there you go. I don't know you and you've made a joke about my name. Thanks for that. You've made me really uncomfortable now. And that happened today. So,
I tell you what, Elton,
idiots.
Okay, for you. If I ever meet Elton John, I'm going to go up to him and I'm going to say, you're El, what, like McManus?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. I'll do that for you.
Yeah, you should. That's the way it should be done. Anyway, Lando Norris. Like I said, I watched a little bit of Formula 2. I thought he was all right. I think he's a well-rounded kid. I think he's a little bit more rock and roll than George. He's just known as George, with a little smile on my face as well. But Lando's, I think he's all right.
Yeah.
I think he's cool. I think he'll do quite well.
Okay. So
he's
the young Brit you're okay with. He's the anti-Palmer.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the one I'll be rooting for.
Fair enough.
But he's got a cool car. He's got a cool looking car. How can you not go wrong in the car that looks like that?
It's true. Of the two cars, his does look a whole lot better than the Williams.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the team will benefit by still having Alonso in the team, because he's still going to be working with the engineers and the drivers and helping them with the simulator stuff.
Right.
And he hasn't ruled out the fact he might not do a test here and there if they feel they need to. So I think that, because Alonso's not officially retired, he's on a break. So if the car suddenly turns around and does end up at the front of the midfield with a chance for winning races, he might be back next year. He won't, but it could happen.
Well, if it's up for podiums, possible wins, then one of these drivers will be out.
Yeah.
Because Alonso's going to want to slip back in there. And I think it might be Norris that is kicked out or relegated a little bit for Alonso to slip back in there. Not this year, but the start of next year.
Yeah. Well, we will have to see. But I hope they will do better than last year. What we've seen in testing, they're not doing a Brawn where they've shown up and have suddenly gone from the back of the grid to being at the front. But they just, for one thing, they were able to do an entire program. They hardly spent any time, with reliability issues. There was a small fire, I think, in the garage in the first test, was it?
That's right, yeah.
But I don't think that was to do with the car. And although some of the engineers had to go to hospital for checks, everyone was okay. Yeah. So
I think they had one or two reliability, but I think that's where you're pushing the limits, isn't it?
Yeah, even top type sheets once, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, that was science, wasn't it?
Yeah. And yeah, it's probably a low speed glory run, but it's good to know what your car can do. You have to qualify. It's good to give you a sense of that. So we'll see. All in all, the signs for McLaren look a lot more promising than they have done in the last 4 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's good and that's promising. As for where do I think they will finish this year?
Where are you going to peg them?
Where am I going to peg them?
You've got 6, 7, and 4 open at the moment.
I will go. It's a toss up between 6 and 7. I'm going to be an optimist. I'm going to say 6.
You're going 6. Okay. I'm going 5.
Wow, you really are optimistic.
I am, yeah. I'm going 5. Okay, cool. Who we got next then?
Well, next after McLaren, we have Haas.
Okay.
Haas.
Haas.
You know what this car looks like? This looks like the Chinese knockoff of a JPS colour scheme. The old JPS Lotus.
Yep.
And we used to say that when Renault were technically Lotus, that looked like the Chinese knockoff. But no, we were wrong. It's this. This is the, it's like, you get the knockoff Lego, but it's called Lepin.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was nice when the Lotus team did it. I thought it looked good and it works really well. This time round, this is a poor excuse for doing this. At least Lotus were called Lotus and they could pull that one off. This is just a proper copy, isn't it? This is Haas looking over at Lotus and saying, yeah, I'm not copying your homework, but, can I borrow your homework?
Yeah, it's... I'm looking at the launch pictures, and they are not the most flattering pictures ever. But I'm putting that more down to whoever was taking the pictures, because the official release ones, those renders, they're all very kind of slick. But just looking at it out on the grid, out on the track as well,
it looks like a dirty gold. It's not a proper popping gold, is it?
It's more of a coppery colour, isn't it?
I know it's supposed to be gold, but it's not the right tone for me. It feels dirty.
It's shiny brown.
Yeah, shiny brown. There you go.
Metallic brown. There you go.
Well,
Black with metallic brown.
I'm surprised it's not grey, because they are massive fans of the grey, aren't they? Hang on, our car hasn't got enough grey on it. We'll change our livery to more grey.
Oh no, it's not black. It's just very, very, very dark grey.
Very dark gunmetal grey.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed.
From a colour standpoint, no. I mean, you always have one team will go with this kind of black look livery, and it just happens it's Haas this time out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just from the looks of the car, I'm not overly impressed. They've retained the driver lineup, Magnussen and Grosjean.
Yep.
Grosjean famously went through an entire half of a season being completely pointless.
You loved that, didn't you?
I did love that.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, Magnussen, he got very punchy at the beginning of last season, didn't he?
Yep.
And then you had Grosjean. Was it he was blaming Wehrlein every time he had an accident or an incident?
Grosjean, he blamed Ericsson, didn't
Ericsson, yeah. Well, Ericsson's not racing this year, so you're going to have a hard time blaming him for everything this year.
Well, Ericsson's in IndyCar, so I'm sure he can still blame him for something.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you see any of them in testing at all?
Not really, no. No, coverage was poor again.
Mm.
I know that they had gearbox issues, but I think they used a Ferrari gearbox.
They did. I mean, from what I've read and seen, it seems like they have a very fast car, but they're playing their cards close to the chest.
Mm.
So I think we might see the car comes out of the gate, strong. But I wonder if they're going to keep the development up throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they necessarily will. And I also have question marks over their drivers. I don't know if they have the consistency. I think when things don't go their way, they tend to go to pieces a bit.
Yeah.
And I think if you get a run of things not working for them, it gets in their heads a bit, and I think that might affect it. I don't know. I know a lot of people have been pegging these as potentially the fourth fastest, but I think they'll probably finish seventh.
Oh, you're going for seventh, are you?
Yeah, that's where I think they're going to be. For me, they're just not doing it.
Yeah,
Also, I will just say, if Ferrari are now putting all their eggs in the Alfa Romeo basket, and if Haas piss Ferrari off, I can see a lot of the support they're getting kind of drying up a bit.
Yeah. 10th position was a toss-up for me between Racing Point and these guys. And I've gone for these guys because they came into the sport and they did quite well at the very beginning. And last season, I think they were on course for a double podium. No, not double podium, double points finish, and it all went completely wrong within 2 laps. And then they started bitching and moaning. And then then they had that thing with Force India, where Force India went into administration, then got bought out of administration. They were bitching about Force India. They should be thrown down to the bottom of the pit lane.
Yeah.
And that got everyone's nose out of joint.
Mm-hmm.
That was, come on, guys, play the game. We know what you're saying, but it's exactly the same guys, and you're kind of being a bit unfair. Although, once again, it is kind of the letter of the law. But that left a foul taste in my mouth, and I didn't like that. And as the season went on, Magnussen was winding me up, and Grosjean was winding me up, and they have the potential because they've got the Ferrari assistance at the moment. But as we've said, you now have Alfa there, and they are the B team now, whereas these are a customer of Ferrari. And I don't think that's going to work as well. I think this is waiting. Haas are going to drop the ball this season. This will be it. And it's because they haven't got Gray in their scheme. That's what it is.
Solely for that. Solely because of the lack of Gray. Fair enough.
Yeah, shame on them. They should have stuck with the Gray. It was endearing. But I'm going to go with 10th for them.
Okay.
So who's next then?
Well, next up, we had in finishing 4th place was Renault.
Renault. Okay.
So let's have a look at the colour scheme. Pretty much an evolution of last year. We're going with a black and yellow again.
Yep. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of my favourite cars last season.
Yeah. It grew on me. I wasn't overly taken with it at first. I thought that yellow was the wrong shade of yellow. But yeah, it grew on me. And I quite like it. It's quite a handsome looking car, I think.
Yeah, I like it. I like that I think there's more yellow in this time round, isn't there, than last season?
Quite possibly. I don't have a 2018 picture next to it to have a look at, but yeah, I like it. I think Renault on the engine side of things have taken a big step last year. Yeah. Early indications are they might possibly even be on a par with the Mercedes.
Ooh.
I don't know whether that's a question of Mercedes having taken a bit of a step back or Renault taking a step forward, but still, it looks like there's a certain amount of parity going on there now. And they've just kind of been quietly plugging away on their program. I know that Renault have, I don't know if Renault have said it, but it's been said that they might actually now be on the bottom rung of the actual Formula One championship. No, not the B championship that is the midfield. So we'll see.
They've been promoted, but they're at the bottom of that promotion.
Yeah, basically. They've kind of gone from, and I know nothing about football, so forgive me for butchering this analysis.
I'm going to enjoy this bit.
Have they gone from second division up to the Premiership?
That's quite a leap, but they've probably gone from Championship to Premiership, but in relegation zone of the Premiership.
That's what it is. So if they can keep the development up and keep the reliability up, they'll have a chance to progress.
Okay.
But obviously everyone else is also developing at a rate of knots, so we've just got to keep it there. But I think, Renault as the team, they came back a couple of years ago and they basically said at the time, we're going to take our time and rebuild the team and, get back to what we were when we were with Alonso back in 2004 and everything. And I think they're just quietly doing that, just plugging away. They managed to keep their heads down when Red Bull were sniping at them every 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And, they just stuck to their guns. They didn't let it rile them too much. And I just think what we're going to see is an evolution of that. They're going to continue plugging away. I think they've got two very talented drivers. I think Danny Ricciardo is probably my favorite driver on the grid, not just from a performance standpoint, but personality standpoint as well. I just think he's a really nice bloke. He's always got a smile, and I love him. And you got Nico Hülkenberg, who always really, really rated as a driver. He's always kind of been in the wrong place at the right time, and last year he did really well in that car and helped drag them up to 4th. So it will be good to see what the two of them will do. Hopefully they'll be able to push each other, but still respect each other. And we won't have any issues with who's the lead driver, any of that sort of stuff. It does seem like Red Bull's positioning Ricciardo as their lead driver.
Right.
But I don't know if that's good. I don't think they're going to do stuff like they did when Alonso was there and deliberately favour him. But we'll see.
No. I don't think they'll do that straight off the bat.
No.
I think they'll get a couple of races in and see where they are.
Yeah. But I think from what we've seen in the testing program, they set higher targets for themselves, and I think they've hit the targets. Again, no real engine issues throughout the testing. I think one of them had a crash. I can't remember for certain, but other than that, though, pretty solid program, and I think they might surprise us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to go for the same position I'm going to go for.
I think we might do, yeah.
Okay. Should we say it at the same time then?
Well, I was going to say, should we say on 3, but that might be tipping my hat a little bit.
Oh, nuts! Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they might.
Yeah.
I think they might do 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they might do as well. I think they got a solid team. They've taken their time to build it up, and they're getting there. They've got unbelievable drivers. To have Daniel Ricciardo go over to them from Red Bull as well. And it was a surprise move. Everyone was surprised. But I think that move might work.
Yeah. I think he had to, though. I don't think he could have stayed at Red Bull.
Not with Verstappen still there, no.
No.
He had to spread his wings. Yeah, you're welcome. But he had to make the move, didn't he? And I think Ferrari was on the cards at one point, Mercedes was on the cards at one point, and all of a sudden that dried up, and then he was left going, well, I need to move. Where do I go now? And I'm kind of driving the Renault anyway, so let's see how we go. And it's not got a Honda in the back of it. That would be weird, Renault with a Honda in the back. But
that would be very weird.
I'm hoping that's a good move for him, because he deserves it. If there's someone on that grid that deserves it, it's him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think Renault, I'm going to peg him for 3rd. I think that's where we might see him.
Okay. On to Red Bull then, yeah?
On to Red Bull, correct. Yeah, we're in the top 3, the official Formula One championships, if you will, now.
Yeah.
And yeah, Red Bull this year are racing with a Honda engine.
That's right.
Although they're still called
from the Renault.
They're still called Aston Martin Red Bull Racing.
Are they?
Yeah.
That surprises me.
Well, I'm assuming Aston Martin are paying a very large amount of money for that branding to go there.
Right.
But the cars are sporting Honda badges on the cars.
Okay. That's interesting.
Mm.
Okay. So, who do they have driving from? I know they got Verstappen.
Yeah, Max Verstappen, and they brought Gasly up from Toro Rosso. Pierre Gasly.
Yeah.
Now, Gasly.
Gasly.
It was his rookie season last year with Toro Rosso, very highly rated, did some fantastic races. And it was pretty clear he was either getting promoted or he was getting poached.
Yeah, and so in good old Red Bull fashion, they decided, well, let's promote him instead.
Well, that was when Danny Ricciardo decided to move.
Yeah.
He opened up the seat, so that's what happened there. So, yeah, there's a bit of a question of if that's too soon. I don't know. I mean, he's kind of following the same trajectory that Verstappen had. Interesting to note that Gasly's older than Verstappen.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It is weird. And yet, Max Verstappen's been now racing for 5 seasons. 2015 was his first season. So yeah,
too many seasons. Too many seasons already.
Now, be nice.
No. Actually, I like him. Okay, we had like a 1-star review on iTunes. By the way, thank you for that. That was beautiful because I forget what it was set. Hang on, I've got it on my desktop. I actually screenshot that.
You framed it.
Yeah. No, that's a different one. I haven't got it. Hang on, I might have it here. No. Nuts. I had it. I'm not opening up iTunes.
Nah, fuck it.
I had it, and it pretty much said, we hate the Dutch, which isn't necessarily so, I don't think.
I would like to go on the record saying I think, I love the Dutch. I love going over to the Netherlands and to Amsterdam, which I've done several times. I think the Dutch are amongst the nicest people on earth. I love the Dutch. Got a few issues with Verstappen, but I love the Dutch.
I think Verstappen's great for the sport.
Yes. You need a villain. you do. Senna was the villain. Look, I love Senna. I think Senna was the greatest Formula One driver of all time. but he was undeniably the villain. You know, we love a villain. Darth Vader, Skeletor, other bad people. You love a good villain. And I tell you what, Formula One's
Darth
been lacking.
Vader, Skeletor, and Verstappen, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. You can say them in a single breath. But what I'm saying is, you love a good villain.
Yeah.
No one goes to watch Batman for Batman. You go for the Joker. You know? And it's like that. And Verstappen is a really good villain.
Yeah.
And I love him for it. You know, it's the Panto thing. You want to go, boo, boo. You don't mean it. You just, you get into it. So, yeah. That's it. So yeah, trust us. If we're ever down on Verstappen, it's purely out of respect. And like I said, we just compared him to Senna. I don't think you can get higher praise than that. I mean, back in the day, you know, 92 or 91, 92, when it was him v Mansell, Senna was eviscerated in the British press.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it was. You cheer for your hero, you cheer for your, you need a good villain. But I don't think there's anyone alive today who wouldn't say Senna was the greatest Formula One driver of his era. And I think it's potentially the same could be said of Verstappen. He's yet to prove it, and we're yet to see if he can do that, but he's got the potential to do it. And, you know, I adore watching him. He is great for the sport. That being said, I reserve the right to boo him.
Yeah. We enjoy having him in the field, definitely. Sometimes I think we can go down on him. No, hang on. Let me rephrase that line. That was wrong.
Euphemism.
Yeah, that's right. We can be harsh on him, but that's only because he has so much potential. It's there and it's waiting to flourish. And I think not that we're getting impatient waiting for that to flourish, but I think it's in anticipation of it flourishing, and then it's just like a Verstappen era.
I don't think it's his fault either. I think what happened was you had so many commentators and, you know, pundits and everyone who have been crowing about how amazing Verstappen is. Because, you know, he's such a young driver doing so well, which was amazing. But, you know, he's entering his 5th season now in Formula One and is yet to clinch that championship. And yes, a lot of that's been down to the car and a lot of the frustrations there, and I can understand that. But there have been times when he's been driving around and acting like a 3 times world champion. He's not there just yet.
No.
And I'm still slightly peeved about how the Ricciardo situation was dealt with last year. But that's just my bias. As I've already said, Ricciardo's probably my favourite driver on the grid. So, like I said, I'm going to root for my guy. But nothing against Verstappen at all. He is a massively exciting talent. You know, he reminds me a lot of Vettel when it was him and Webber. And it worked all right for Webber in the end, didn't it? It worked all right for Vettel in the end, didn't it? 4 times world champion. Yeah. I think it's going to be very interesting this year with him and Gasly, because I think Gasly's going to have to try and establish some sense of dominance early on if he wants to keep the momentum he's got going on. And I got to tell you, I don't think Red Bull are all that loyal. I think if it looks like Gasly's the one who's going to bring them the gold, I think Helmut Marko very quickly will shift his attention that way.
I think so. And thus, if Gasly was causing problems for Verstappen, I think they would quite happily just remove him from that car.
Yeah. What? Put Kvyat in there?
Yeah. Again.
We'll see. So, I mean, one of the things I'm pegging Red Bull for 4th this year. And the reason is yes, in testing, I mean, the cars look solid on the ground, and it always does. It's an Adrian Newey car. If there's one thing that man can do, it's aero. Yeah. Especially when there's a change up in the regs. You know, he usually manages to kind of get his head around it straight away. But there is going to be a question mark over the powertrain, the Honda. It seems it's been reliable through testing, which is a big step up on where it was last year. but we're yet to see if they can develop that and maintain the reliability over a season. And I don't know if they can.
Yeah.
And you got two very hungry, very young drivers. One who needs to keep momentum up, which got him into that team this year. And one who feels that now he doesn't have a Renault in his car, and hopefully his reliability gremlins are behind him, needs to show that he is on a par with Hamilton, with Vettel, with Alonso, who's not racing this year, but, you know, I'm still throwing him in there. But to show that that's his caliber. And I think what we might find is situations like we found in Azerbaijan last year, where an immovable force is going to meet an unstoppable barrier. Or the other way around. You know what I mean. But I think we might see a couple more of those this season. And I've got to tell you, I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I am as well. I think it's going to be a frustrating season for them. They're going to have real high highs, and they're going to have a few massive lows.
I think they're definitely going to win a race.
Okay.
I think they will. I think they will win a race.
Yeah.
But I think it will be a situation where probably the Ferraris have taken themselves out, or, you know, had a reliability issue or something like that. I think it will be extraordinary, but I do think they will win a race.
Okay. That sounds cool. That sounds cool.
But yeah, I peg them at 4th this year.
Yeah, I've got them at 4th as well. I've got them at the 4th. Okay, moving up to Ferrari, I'm guessing. Yeah,
Ferrari, who were number 2 last year, but I don't think they're necessarily number 2 this year.
Right.
Yeah, Ferrari have come in and have managed to get something just hooked up really well.
They looked good in testing last year as well, though, didn't they? And maybe the season before as well.
They always look good in testing, and I always like how Mercedes and Ferrari like to play it down.
Yeah.
Or Mercedes play it up, saying, oh, we're at least half a second behind.
Yeah.
And Ferrari play it down, saying, oh, no, you can never tell anything from testing. But they've just looked good and solid all the way through testing, both of the cars. We had a couple of crashes. I know on one of them, something hit the wheel rim on Vettel's car, and he had a bit of a nasty crash. Well, not
the wheel
massive
rim. I think the wheel rim failed.
Yeah, because of some foreign object hitting it or something. And I think in another one they had a gearbox issue.
Yeah.
But it's undoubtedly a fast car. It looks good. And hopefully they can just build on what they had last year. There's been a few changes behind the scenes. They got a new technical director, I believe.
Yep. See, the problem with Ferrari is we learn their names just before they're sacked.
Yeah, it's true.
Arriva Bene, he's gone now, hasn't he?
Yes, he has gone. He has gone to join the Choir Invisible. He is pushing up the days. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that because Marchioni actually did pass away last year. But no.
Oh yeah.
Arriva Bene has left. He's been. Would you say jumped or pushed?
Pushed, definitely.
Yeah, he's been pushed out. He's gone. I don't know who's the new one in the team, but it seems a rather harmonious team at the minute, at least.
I think it's moving in the right direction. I like their scheme. They've gone for a matte scheme as well, haven't they?
Apparently it gives because this is something that Red Bull has been doing the last few years, and now Ferrari's doing it too. And apparently it's a performance reasons behind it. I don't know why. But
it's weight, isn't it?
It is. Actually, something I wanted to mention here, and also with the McLaren, is the kind of unofficial return of tobacco sponsorship.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's the Mission
Winnow.
It is.
Mission Winnow on the Ferrari, which is that weird arrow shape on the engine cover, which is like an M and a W thing.
Yeah.
And on the McLaren, what used to be, well, what is effectively British American Tobacco, who used to run BAR, are running a Better Tomorrow. Have you looked at either of these sites?
No.
Okay. It's kind of hilarious because they've got these, Mission Winnow things and, a Better Tomorrow. If you go on the site though, and I'm going to go over the site now, I'm going to read you So what is Mission Winnow? Mission Winnow has a simple goal: drive change by consistently searching for better ways of doing things. From world-leading engineering and scientists to cutting-edge creatives, the people at PMI and our partners in Ferrari and Ducati have the know-how to challenge the status quo. You go through the entire webpage, it doesn't tell you anything about what they do at all. Like, I've read through the entire webpage trying to what is their product, what are they selling? I can't find it. There's nothing. But it's a webpage of nothing. This is a webpage of pure business speak. You know,
this is like J.J. Abrams of web pages, really, isn't
well,
it?
I'm expecting him talking about, combining their synergies through, that kind of shit, basically.
Closing the circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Sending out the flagpole, see who salutes it.
Thinking outside the box and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so now you've got a better tomorrow from, what was it, BAR, basically. Yeah. And yet it's the same sort of thing. It doesn't say anything. So, I don't know what it is. It makes no sense. I mean, it's clearly tobacco sponsorship then, but that's banned. So why can they put these slogans on?
Because they're not it's very hard to know unless you know that they are tobacco sponsors.
But if you go to look for the product, if you see a brand on a car and you decide, oh, I want to know what that is, and you go and look to it and you find out it doesn't do anything, you start pulling on the thread and you're going to find out it leads back to the tobacco firms. I mean, they don't even hide the Better Tomorrow one. It's actually on the British American Tobacco webpage.
Right.
So I kind of don't know what's going on there. I think that might get...
It's like laundering sponsorship, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
It is laundered sponsorship. It works. And it gets you going down rabbit holes as well. And not finding any answers. It's like watching Lost all over again.
I don't know. I don't think that's going to last for season. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Ferrari and McLaren are told they've got to tweak their branding somehow.
Right.
And we'll see.
Because this jumped up on the Ferrari last year, didn't it? But in a white logo.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who, is this a Marlboro thing?
Yeah, it's Philip Morris.
Right.
And yeah, I think they were told they had to get rid of the white because that was too close to the classic Marlboro colours. Because you literally got the chevrons with the red and the white, which was the classic Marlboro colours. And they've been told, no. So now they've done it with black. But I mean, fair play to these executives for not kind of taking the hint and realising that tobacco smoking really is kind of a done thing. You know, it's kind of a last hurrah here.
It is, isn't it? But, it's working its way through. You have to commend them on their thoughts and the way that they're going about it.
They're thinking outside the box, running the flag up the flagpole, see you salutes.
Shut up.
Bringing some good synergies together.
Let's get a think tank going.
Yeah.
Let's touch base about this. Oh, shut up. Honestly. Bravo to them. But I think the matte looks good, although it kind of looks orangey on the Ferrari.
It does in the renders, but when you see it out on the track, I think it looks better.
Oh, okay. I thought on the track it looked a bit orangey, but maybe that was just me.
Maybe you need to get your eyes recalibrated.
I think I might do, yeah. Yeah, tracking. Okay, so are we excited for the driver lineup, Vettel and Leclerc?
Well, Vettel's... Leclerc. Leclerc was very exciting in Sauber last year. Again, rookie season and kind of set the world on fire. And we kind of knew he was going to end up in the Ferrari, didn't we? That was kind of apparent early on.
It was a matter of time, wasn't it?
Yeah. We definitely saw that one coming. Vettel's now entering his 5th season at Ferrari. When did he move there?
He moved in
2015.
15.
Okay, so it's his 4th season this year. Am I right? No, it's his 5th season this year.
Right.
If the car's there, he really doesn't have any excuse for not winning. He should have won it last year by all accounts.
I think so, yeah.
I think for the most part of last season, Ferrari had a better, stronger car. But for various reasons, and, you know, Hamilton being Hamilton, it just wasn't to be. I don't think Leclerc is going to really challenge Vettel for dominance of the team. I don't think we're going to have a situation like I expect we'll see with the Red Bulls.
Right.
I think Leclerc will play number 2 driver. He'll use this year to learn and to just, you know, be the dutiful student, but he wants to show he still has the speed, because I think he's basically looking at Vettel's got a few more years left. He plays his cards right, then he can be the lead driver in Ferrari.
I think if Vettel doesn't win it this season, he's out.
Well, yeah. But I think Leclerc wants to be ready to assume that mantle, but I don't think he's going to stir the pot this year.
Right.
I think he's going to use this year to learn. So I don't think Ferrari's going to have team strife like I think you're going to find in Red Bull.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, assuming they have the reliability, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. The car was pretty reliable last year. I think there's every reason to believe they could win. I'm not saying they will win. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying they could.
Would you like me to put them down as number 1 for you?
No.
Okay. 2?
Yes.
Okay. Well, do you know what? I'm going to go against you then. I'm going to put them down for 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel, as much as I love Kimi Räikkönen, Leclerc is going to just bring Ferrari forward that extra bit.
Oh, I think they could win the Constructors' Championship, so maybe you should put that down as 1 for me then. But I don't think Vettel will win the Drivers' Championship.
Ah, okay. Right.
That's kind of what I'm coming at. And you're right, I think Leclerc will be more consistent perhaps than Kimi was.
Yeah.
But I don't think Vettel will win the Drivers' Championship.
Okay, well, we'll get to that.
Yes.
In a second then. But a good, strong, solid team, I feel. I think they've got a real good pairing.
They've got every opportunity. The deck is stacked for them, I think. I think this is their best chance that they've had.
I think I think Ferrari have got a stronger lineup than Mercedes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Much stronger. Although I think Hamilton has the potential to drag that team across the line in first place.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm with you. I mean, basically what we've seen, and I think you've already said this, we saw it definitely last year, and we might have seen it even the year before. I'm going to quickly just have a look and see what 2017 looked like at the beginning of the season. Yeah, I feel that Mercedes tends to start a little bit on the back foot, but I think then they knuckle down, and I think they develop the car better and quicker than Ferrari do.
Right.
And then I think combined with Hamilton, frankly, sheer bloody mindedness manages to drag that car to wins that it perhaps shouldn't have had. So that's why I think Ferrari will probably win the Constructors' Championship, but I don't think they'll win the Drivers' Championship.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll keep you down as a second then, yeah?
Okay, sure.
Okay, on to Mercedes.
Yes, Mercedes. I quite like the livery.
It's a little bit different from last year. Yeah,
you got a kind of a cool gradient thing going on with the black section there in the engine cover.
Still don't like it. I prefer the pure silver.
No, I like a bit of a gradient there. I think they do a nice gradient. And they're kind of doing a bit of that kind of digital effect that we saw with the McLaren, but it's with like Mercedes logos.
Right. Yes. It's kind of, it's like a print, isn't it? Like a doily has been, a Mercedes doily has been
a little bit, yeah,
laid across.
And I quite like, and you can see it in a couple of the pictures on the Autosport site where the light's catching it. It's almost like there's a deep blue, like a blue pearl in the clear coat.
Right.
Just before it turns into the black. I quite like that. The green Petronas stripe actually looks like it's lit in some places. And there's a shot where you've got Bottas with the wet tyres on with the blue, and it just complements it really nicely. The halo's still silver. I like it. I also like where you got the number on the engine cover like that. Maybe they should have had it up a little bit so it doesn't kind of deform, but I like it in the black there, which is kind of cool.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I quite like the colour scheme there. It's a nice evolution of what we had from last year.
I think it looks better than last year. I prefer to remove the black gradient. I think the Petronas streak going down the side looks better than it did last year, but I prefer the silver. If you're going to have the Mercedes, it needs to be pure silver for me. But that's up to them. They're winning races and titles, aren't they? So who am I to say? I think Bottas, this could be his last season.
Yeah. I mean, he was only given a 1-year extension, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can't see him doing anything. If someone's going to do it, it's going to be Lewis. But Bottas, I just don't think he's got championship. He's not championship material.
I don't know. I mean, Rosberg managed to up his game, but I mean, it took so much out of him, he had to retire after that. I think Bottas is a very good second driver, a number 2, but I think he might have he might have had delusions of grandeur. And then when he didn't live up to that, it kind of got his head down, and then he kind of failed as a number 2 driver.
Yeah.
And so that almost hurt the team as a whole. Certainly hurt him. So, and plus you've got Esteban Ocon literally sitting in the back of a garage with his racing overalls on, just waiting. Any excuse, he's going to be in that car.
He's waiting to go, isn't he?
He really is. Yeah, he's chomping at the bit there.
That's not a bad problem to have either.
Not like that, no. I mean, I think things between Lewis and Bottas are pretty harmonious in terms of there's no animosity like we saw between Hamilton and Rosberg. But the only reason really is because Bottas isn't really a threat to him. So I think, I've already put my cards on the table. I think Hamilton's going to win the championship again. Okay. I think it'll be a kind of a repeat of last year. A little bit of a struggle at the beginning. But then I think by the time you get to Spain, they'll have sorted their shit out. And then it's just going to be like a freight train. And they're just going to steamroll through. Because, as you say already, they've been on the back foot in testing for at least the last 3 years. And every year we've looked at it and thought, yes, finally Ferrari are going to bring it to the Mercedes. And then every year we get to like the mid-season break and it's like, oh, well, they're going to win, aren't they?
They've been proper sandbagging though. The first test they brought a almost similar aero kit to what they had last year, and then they totally changed it in the second test.
Yeah.
But they've been sandbagging up until a couple of runs before the end.
Well, they did a test. It was it was 3/1000th of a second off of Vettel's top speed.
Yeah.
And that's near as makes no difference, the same speed. I think what's telling is they pretty much straight away just started going into full race runs. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Mercedes have got any problems at all. They're still the team to beat, I think. Yeah. It's a well-oiled machine. Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda, they know what they're doing. Hamilton knows what he's doing. He's comfortable with the team. It's like putting on a comfy pair of Crocs for him, I imagine.
I think so, yeah. I think it is, isn't it?
So Yeah, as much as I really want to be able to say that, yeah, I think this year they're going to be on the back foot. Yeah, I think this year Vettel's going to be able to win the championship or something unexpected is going to happen. I think it's likely to be business as usual as far as Mercedes go.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying Mercedes to win the championship?
I'm saying Lewis to win the Drivers' Championship.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily saying Mercedes to win the Constructors' Championship, but just for the sakes of this argument, let's say yes, because the Drivers' Championships do only want people who seem to care about. So
That's correct. Okay. I'm going to go with Ferrari winning the Constructors because I have to. Because I feel what I should do as well. And I can't back Mercedes. As much as Lewis is a great driver, he just rubs me up the wrong way, so I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't.
I just want to point out to all the Dutch listeners out there who think we drag on Verstappen, we both aren't the biggest Hamilton fans. I mean, please, if you think us wanting #blessed coming next year now is us as you're celebrating him as no, it's not. And I will say this about Hamilton: I respect him as a driver now. But when he first started, when he was up against Alonso, yeah, we all hated Alonso because Alonso was just being a massive dick there. But Hamilton was an entitled little brat then as well.
Yeah. As for world champion though, for myself, do you know, I would love Leclerc to come in and just boss it and just catch Vettel off guard. He has a couple of bad races. All of a sudden, Leclerc's got a couple of race wins up in front of him already. And you're like, hang on, this wasn't meant to be like this. And yeah, you could have Ferrari tripping up on each other and imploding and then Mercedes swooping in and winning it. But I need to put someone down that I want to win, not that I think would win. So I can always enjoy it.
Okay.
And so I would like one of the Ferraris to win it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be happy if Vettel won it. Because he's gone there for that mission. Alonso didn't do that, and he kind of needs to do that this year. Otherwise, I think he'll be out. So, but then it'll be cool to have Leclerc come and win it. But I'm going to stick Vettel down for the world champion. So, yeah, there we go. That's written in pencil on my pad. You can rub that out, but I won't. Okay. So that's all the teams and everything.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the calendar goes, there's no new races this year. In fact, the only real change, I believe,
I thought we had a new one this year.
Do we have a new one? I don't think we do.
I thought, yeah, one through the car park. I forget where it is. I haven't opened it up because my computer crashed. So I haven't got any of my windows up at the moment.
Looking here, we've got Melbourne, Bahrain, Shanghai, Baku, Barcelona, Monaco, Canada, Paul Ricard, Red Bull, Silverstone, Hockenheim, Hungaroring. Is Hungary back? No, Hungary was here last year. Yeah. Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, Japan, Mexico, US, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. No, there's no new races there.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's next year then.
Yeah. Mexico and the US have swapped places now, so the US will follow the Mexico Grand Prix.
Vietnam, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, well, that's next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no changes really there. Any particular races you're looking forward to or you think are going to be good ones?
I would normally say Canada, but I think the last couple of Canadian races have been a bit poor.
Yeah, the last couple of kind of... I've got high hopes for Azerbaijan based on how good it was last year.
And the year before.
Well, it wasn't good the year before. It was terrible the year before.
No, it was good the year before that, but the first one was terrible.
Yeah, I thought it was only been done two. Isn't this the third year?
This will be the third one. No, this will be there was the Nico Rosberg one, which was dull. Then we had the bashing of the wheels.
No, there's only been two. There was 2017, Danny Ricciardo won, and there's 2018, Lewis Hamilton won. Wait, no, it was the European Grand Prix in 2016. That's why I'm getting confused. There you go. Fine.
You're welcome.
Yeah, shut up. Still, I have high hopes for that because last year I think that was the best race of the season, possibly the best race. in the last decade. It was damn good.
I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah.
It was definitely my race of the season last season.
Yeah.
Any that you're not looking forward to?
Well, Monaco, obviously.
I'm not looking forward to Spain.
No?
No, it is very dull. Always very dull.
What, more dull than Monaco?
No, not as dull as Russia either.
Oh, yeah. Sochi, yeah, not looking forward to that.
No.
Still, you never know. We might have a wet Monaco race. That'll spice it up.
That'll be cool.
That'll be very,
Wet
very
Russian?
cool.
Is there a drink called the Wet Russian?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's all the races then.
Well, I mean, tell you what, a couple of things to talk about first. Tyre rules have changed a little bit.
Oh God.
But I think for the better, because no longer are we going to be told that on the ultra softs or the super softs or the super ultra mega Kamehameha softs or anything like that. They're now going to be told you got the hard, medium and soft at each race.
I don't think we will be told that.
Well, they're going to tell us they've got compound 1, 2 and 3, but it's the hard, medium and soft, so.
Yeah, they promised us hard, medium and soft. What we're going to get is C2 and C4 and C5. And no, you're just ruining it.
To be fair, though, that's easier to understand than ultra soft or super soft or hyper soft. Because of those three, which is the softest?
No, that is true. At
least C5, you know, is the softest compound.
That works. But they promised us soft, medium, and hard.
Yeah.
They promised us that, and we're not getting that. We're getting C4. We're getting pencil softer. The strength of a pencil.
Yeah.
We're driving on HBs today. Might as well be.
Yeah. A little bit.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a bit frustrated with that, but we'll see what happens in the first race.
Any other random predictions or anything like that? You got things you want to just kind of put out there now?
I think Leclerc will win a race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Red Bull will win a race.
No? Okay.
No. I think there'll be a Renault on a podium.
I think there might be a McLaren on a podium.
I think there might be a McLaren on the podium as well.
I think a Renault might win a race.
Ooh.
I think a Monaco, you could see a Renault on the top step there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but Leclerc's going to want to win that. That's his home race.
It is. Leclerc can want to win it all he wants, but he's got to get by Danny Rick. It's the one thing you can say about Monaco is if a guy qualifies in front of you, just go home.
Yeah. And by the end of the season, I will not like George.
What do you mean by the end of a season? You don't like him now, it's the beginning of a season.
But I officially won't.
Here's a question for you. Will Kvyat see out the season?
I think he'll see out the season and then wave goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll have one more season and that's it.
Will Lance Stroll see out the season?
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
He will. Right. Okay. I think we should wrap it up here. But before we do that, we'll do predictions for the Australian Grand Prix.
Yes. As is tradition. It is an old tradition only going back like 2 years now, but we'll do it nonetheless.
But yeah, a tradition nonetheless.
It
is. The Australian Grand Prix is in less than 2 weeks now.
Yep. In Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
Last year we had Lewis on pole position. And the final result was Vettel from Hamilton from Raikkonen. So yeah, Mercedes filling in a Ferrari sandwich there. In terms of all-time winners, the most is Lex Davidson and Michael Schumacher with 4 pop. And then a whole lot of Aussies have won it 3 times. I'm not going to read them all. Jenson Button won it 3 times. Vettel's won it 3 times. Hamilton's won it twice. Kimi's won it twice. Senna won it twice. Ferrari's won it 12 times. Williams 6. Cooper won it 5 times. Wow, it's going back.
Wow.
And Mercedes 3 times. So yeah. The thing about the Melbourne Park circuit though is it is in no way indicative of any other race on the season.
No, I'm starting to learn that. I always enjoy the Australian Grand Prix.
Me too, but I seem to recall McLaren won there once and then like finished 5th or something like that in the season total.
Right.
In fact, I think the last race they ever won was a Mercedes, was it Australian Grand Prix? So, yeah, it's deceptive, shall we say. So, the form book that we've just seen and how we think the rest of the season is going to go kind of goes out the window.
Okay. So,
well, I was going to say, I seem to recall I won last year.
You did, yeah.
Which seems to me suggest that you get to go first.
I get to go first then, do I?
Yeah.
I think last year I went for Vettel.
Do you still have your notebook? You could check.
It's in the other room at the moment. For some reason, I've forgotten it.
No.
I'm going to go for pole position Vettel. I'm going to go for Leclerc to win.
Okay.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Ooh. All right. Let me have a look at the 2018 race just to see what the grid looked like. So the qualifying was Hamilton from Raikkonen from Vettel, from Verstappen, Ricciardo, Magnussen. And the race was Vettel, Hamilton, Raikkonen from Ricciardo. I'm going to go... Ooh. You're going Vettel for pole, yeah?
Yeah. It's all very tense.
It is
I need
tense.
Tense music, don't I?
You do. You need building. It's like the weakest link all of a sudden, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Lewis for pole.
Ooh, okay. Right. He'll probably blow the doors off everyone, I'd imagine.
Oh, I don't know. He's was it 2 years ago where someone forgot to plug in a spark plug in his car or something? And yeah.
Okay, I've already put down Leclerc. I shouldn't have jumped the gun, but I did.
That's fine.
For the race win. Who are you going to go for the race win?
I'm going to go for Ricciardo.
Ricciardo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going with my heart, not my head.
Well, that kind of throws out the third tier then.
Well, no, because you already know where I think he's going to finish.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Oh, well, okay. How about for a third tier, since Honda are starting in the Red Bull, how many grid penalties will they get? Even though we don't know how that works.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how the grid penalties work, and they tend to get at least a couple of jokers, don't they, where they can swap out some bits at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So I just think that might be just a little bit too complicated.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, how about this? How about how many retirements?
Yeah, I'm always up for that one.
All right, so last year there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retirements.
Okay. How many retirements? How many? I'm just writing this down.
And all of those, it looks like, were... Yeah, they were mechanical or something like that. They weren't crashes,
Okay.
so...
So, I get to choose first, don't I?
You do, yes.
9.
Wow.
Yeah, 9. There we go.
9 retirements. All right, I'll go with... Let's see, there's 2 Williams.
Yeah.
There's 2 Haas's.
Everyone's looked really good and solid during testing, though.
I want to go with 5 again.
You're going with 5.
Yeah.
And are we doing nearest to pin or just on the button or no points at all? Yeah.
Dealer's choice.
On the button, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, on the button. Right, okay, that is set in stone then. I don't think there's anything else, is there?
Any fourth columns you want to have on there, or?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Okay, fine.
If
Where
I think of one,
do you think Ricciardo's going to finish?
just out of interest?
Where do I... Fourth.
You think fourth?
Yeah. And you put first, haven't you?
I'm going first, but I'm letting my heart rule my head. And because I know Australia really has no bearing on the rest of the season whatsoever.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I've written down fourth just so we can laugh at me later on anyway. So
I think you'll probably be closer than I am.
Okay, well then let's wrap that one up. Thank you, Andy, for talking liveries and cars and for the build up to the 2019 season.
It's good to be back. Have missed this.
Definitely. Have you got anything else to plug? Because guys listening to this, thank you very much once again for downloading. Number 2, thank you very much for making it this far. Number 3, just thanks. So we do other shows out there. So Andy, where do you do other shows?
Well, I was going to say, although this might be the first time we've gotten together to talk about Formula One cars since November last year, we've been doing a couple of podcasts. We're doing a podcast called Into the Expanse, which is about the most excellent TV show, The Expanse. And we're going through season 1 of that at the minute. And you can find that and just about everything else we do over at RogueTwoMedia.com. And you can also find me on The Great Derelict, where I talk about science fiction-y stuff. And that's at greatderelict.libsyn.com and also on RogueTwoMedia.com. So you can go and check those out and, find me on the Twitters at Andy3E. And you can hurl abuse at me and tell me how I'm completely wrong about everything, because you're probably right.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I imagine so, yeah. You can catch me on the Black Dog Podcast, which is blackdogpodcast.com. It's for geeks talking about films. What more do you want? I also do the Shonky Lab. I haven't done one in a little while, but hopefully bring one back very, very soon. And as Andy said, everything else is at RogueTwoMedia.com. I'm on the Twitter at Elton McManus. We also have Grand Prix Pod on the Twitter as well. The email address, if you want to send us stuff, is boxboxbox@grandprixpodcast.com. And we always need reviews on iTunes or your choice of podcatcher. So please pop over to your choice of podcatcher, I suppose, and write us a nice and welcoming review over there. So until the Australian Grand Prix, thank you very much for listening and goodbye.
Ta-ra.
Especially if October's got a problem because 2.8 has become 1.9 in the space of a lap. So that's going to happen, isn't it?